Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Wait, hold on just a minute. Ta-da! Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for coming to, let's see if I have it up there, our spiritual classroom. As you can see, if you've watched me before, we kind of get excited here at the spiritual classroom. It's got a lot of good conversation. Excited in that good way. This is Dr. Annette Feravich. I'm the teacher, and you are here in the classroom. I need some really dramatic music because I am the teacher, and this is the classroom. Okay, let's move on to our spiritual connection, shall we? Classroom. Spiritual connection classroom, where we are talking about mindfulness, right? So I always got on a little bit late. I got on a little bit late, a minute late or so, whatever, just because I was debating on if I wanted to change this and if I still wanted to have it here as whatever. And I like the Holy Spirit there because that's the reminder of the Trinity, which is really what we're basing this triune on. You know, there are all kinds of religions and there are all kinds of conceptions and misconceptions about people's religions, right? So if you know me at all, you know I'm not afraid to say my opinion about things because usually I have it based on, evidence. But that doesn't mean I want to insult other people or make other people feel like that they can't connect with me and what I'm saying. So if you don't connect with the idea of the Holy Trinity, as I know many people didn't, and I didn't for most of my life connect with the idea. It wasn't that I felt negative about it. No, that wasn't the case. Oh, sometimes I did, right? Sometimes it wasn't negative, but it was really like, yeah, well, I guess it was negative if I kind of thought it didn't make sense to me, right? To put it a little mildly. So, but then now it means something, it means a lot to me. And in fact, it means everything to me. But I don't expect it to mean everything to you. But it truly means everything to me. Everything. Why? Why does it mean everything to me? Because I have partners. I have partners. And these partners were made for me, and I was made for those partners. And so if that's the case, you know that you have that triune in your corner. And as I said before, I can't imagine a triune, which my initial triune does not have my boys in it. I can't imagine that I don't have a triune with my boys, right? And I even said, I don't think that triune is the three of us. I don't think so. I think I have one triune, me, my older son, and somebody else. Yep. One of the people in my first initial triune, and my younger son, and me, and the other person in my initial triune. Yeah, that's what I think. And that is so, like, I'm stopping here because it is so, the word that first came to my mind is it warms me. It just warms me that my boys are in my life to that degree, right? To that extent that they are, see, the reason why I think the triune, and now that I figured this out, it again is so important is because we haven't even talked about this with the other people in my triune. I hope they're seeing, hello, do you know? But I'm sure that they know. Actually, I'm really sure that they know. And yeah, it is just, so again, that to me, even though we haven't even made real contact about this, that they have my back and I have theirs. But more than that, as I've said so many times, it fulfills my greatest need, which is to know and to be known. And our pastor said it's to be loved, right? It's to be loved. Our greatest need is to be loved. But no, that love, that is selfish. We have a need, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later on. Actually, this is just coming to me with the idea of love. No, equal to our need to get love is to give love. We would feel so insufficient. We would feel insufficient. And that's not a good feeling, right? If we did not also give love to the degree that we want love. So the need is just as great, right? And so that person knows me, those people, those other two people, they are people. They are people. They are people. They're people, all right? For you too, they're people. They're here. I said I don't know if they're for somebody from the past. I think that that's likely true. Could be. I don't know. That's a tough one. Because I don't know how present somebody could be from the past, right? So, having my back, and I have theirs. Why? Because they know me. They know me like my creator knows me, right? Like my creator knows me, they know me. So, and they love me. They know me like my creator knows me, and they love me. So I have that Holy Spirit. I have that peace of him on earth, which is what? Which is the knowledge that somebody knows me intimately and loves me. Which brings up another interesting point about the triune, and that is this. If nobody knows you, you can't have your triune. Dun, dun, dun. Somebody write that down. That's Annette's quote. Yeah, if nobody knows you, if nobody has a real essence of who you are, you can't find a triune. However, that being said, now, next thought in my head is that people know you. People know you. You don't know they know them. You don't admit that they know you. But people know you, right? People know you. And you can hide all kinds of things from all kinds of people. But there are two people who are part of your triune that know you, right? And they know all the good, and they know all the bad, and they still love you. I don't. You know who I'm talking to. But I do. And it's so interesting too, because how well do you know that other person? Do I know them enough to have their back? Wow, I don't even know. Like I'm thinking of the other two people. I don't know. Like realistically, practically, and I spent most of my life married to Stuart, and there were certainly things about him that I didn't know. So there's the question there too. There are people who know you. You have to be known. You have to be known, and you have to know, and that's how you find your triune. Oh, little light bulb over there. Didn't even plan for that one. But that's the reason why I have those up there, because I know I want to speak on it. And I did have a couple things to say about that anyway. Actually, I don't think I did. I knew I would, though, about just taking them up and down. Or down. And speaking on them. But again, let me get to that point there. All right. So finding your triune, right? And how we're doing that, know and be known, right? And then also finding out if there are other triunes as well, right? Because I don't know. I haven't connected fully with my triune. So maybe it takes, I don't know. Maybe you could, maybe you can work on other triunes or figure it all out as time passes until, your triune comes together like it's supposed to. I don't know. Because, think about it. Somebody from your triune that knows you could be across the country. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right, so we did our mindful meditation and we did our example of mind over matter, and now we are here. What is the mechanism? What is the mechanism by which these health changes occur? So it says scientists are interested in. So we took a look here at the maids, right? And we said decreases in weight, blood pressure, and fat. And what did I suggest? And also the time capsule there, right? And then having the, well, let's look at that specifically. And the changes there were increases in strength, flexibility, memory, and IQ, right? For those individuals who were engaging in an exercise that made them talk about and think about 1959. And think about that. So I was more agile, I was more young, I was more spry, I was more hopeful, right? I was more cutting edge, whatever it was. For these elderly individuals, right? I wasn't born then. So these elderly individuals so what were they, right? And then when they were engaging in that conversation with other people doing the same thing, same age, around the same age, reflecting back on 1959, how does that help you feel more spry, feel better, feel even engaging memory, right? So there's a better memory there as well. And these are memory exercises, not how much did you remember from 1959. These are literally exercises, tests for your memory, right? That they're doing. So what do we have to know? That was the next slide. And I want you to think about that while that slide is up there. What do we have to know? Well, what we have to know is the mechanism by which these health changes occur. Now, I tried to point that out to you when we were talking yesterday, all right? I was saying, this is what we see happening. What were those maids doing? They had a spring in their step. Hey, the Surgeon General says this is a healthy lifestyle. What is the mechanism by which those health changes occur? All right? We need to know that. Why? Because it's not abracadabra. That's the reason why. As much as the Medical Association would like you to think that they are the magicians and like some kind of scientists, whatever, behind this, they need to know the mechanism by which this works. It's the reason why they don't care about ACE-K as in your Pepsi, because they don't know the mechanism by which, or they do and they don't tell you, that makes that sweet, right? That bittersweet. Look at my LinkedIn. I'm ACE-K and Pepsi, all right? We have a sweetener. Some guy was in a lab in Germany. Oh, let's put that. That tastes sweet. What chemical were you studying that you licked your fingers and was sweet? Maybe if it's rat poison, for example. I'm not saying that's rat poison. I'm just saying, what if rat poison were sweet? Hey, we have a new sweetener. Lucky us. That's exactly what they're saying. That's exactly what's being said here. What is that? Explain it to me. That's all I'm asking. Just explain it to me. You want to say something about it, right? Explain it to me, and I will shut my mouth, and I will retract, and I will take all that back, and I will still drink Pepsi right over there. Now I've got the real sugar, and you know what? Tastes like real Pepsi. Tastes really good. I like it. So there you go, Pepsi. All right. And think about your reputation, please. ACE-K, you can't what? You can't use stevia? What? You can't use stevia? What? What? It's been around 1,500 years, not quite so sure about it. Didn't you hear about that German scientist who did this? Whatever. Okay. So it's not right to not know the mechanism by which these changes occur. It's not science. And I say it's not right because we should know it. If we should know it, then it's not right if we don't know it, right? We should know this. So we talked about that mechanism, right? We talked about the mechanism with the hotel maids. We alluded to the mechanism of the 1959, and I just alluded to it a little bit more, right? So I'm saying, well, my whole event, the event that's going on right now, the current situation right now is me back in 1959. So these are 80-year-olds like that, all right? So they're 80-year elderly individuals reminiscing about 1959, okay? When they were at their best. These individuals were likely at their, at their best. They were young, they were spry, they were, maybe dating, maybe in the Air Force, maybe maybe serving in the military, maybe, buying a house, maybe building a career. But these individuals in 1959 were at their best. So the mentality of that, I'm not sure if I mentioned it in this classroom or not, but we're calling that a self-fulfilling prophecy. That is a self-fulfilling prophecy. I think we did say it in here. So it is my mindset believes something, and that is enough momentum, energy, whatever that is. We don't study it in science because we're studying medicine instead, right? So what is that then that ends up giving us the the mindset that motivates these self-fulfilling prophecies? What is that? We have a name for it. What is it? What is that mechanism? What is it? And we need to know, right? There should be some kind of a what? In my mind, it's energy. In my mind, it's energy, and nobody pays attention to energy. Now they're paying more attention to energy and medicine because they realized in the 1930s that they were onto something and that their drugs aren't doing anything that they're supposed to be doing, right? Okay, all right. So it is imperative as a scientist, as a human being, whatever, that we know the mechanism by which these health changes occur. All right? All right. Now, so what's the mechanism? What is the mechanism of, for example, all right, I'll start with the triune because that's a large, I was going to start at the bottom, but let's start at the top. What's the mechanism? What's the mechanism by which it occurs that these three people's lives intersect in such a way that it's like a magnet? Does it happen for everybody? Do you have to be I think you have to be Holy Spirit driven. You have to be a believer. We talked about that before, right? So you have to have the fruits of the Spirit, right? And believers have the fruits of the Spirit. Those people who are not believers do not. So you do have to have some kind of a connection, some kind of fruit of the Spirit. But so again, we're talking about what is that we can benefit from. What is it? And I'm telling you that there are two components to this. That there is a conscious, and I'm using psychological terms because as a scientist, you'll be able to look those up, all right? You'll be able to get a cleaner picture of the science, and then you put your theories behind it because science just isn't entertaining our spiritual theories, okay? All right, so what are the mechanisms by which this energy, whatever it is, a self-fulfilling prophecy, creates these changes, creates a reality, right? Conscious functioning. So you have to be aware. I'm going to explain it to you theoretically, the way that I thought about it a long, long time ago, right? We function mostly in unconscious ways. When we are moral beings, we are held accountable when we are moral believers. When we are moral believers, we are held accountable by our Creator, right? We know that. As spiritual beings, as believers, we know we are being held accountable to our Creator. How can we be held accountable? How can some people who don't have the mental capacity, right, be held accountable? We'll start right there. How can somebody without the mental capacity be held accountable? They can't. They can't. And we know that theoretically. We know that relative to justice, right? And as part practically of our justice system, that we look at intention. I gotta shorten my light. Intention is important to determine guilt. So we have to have intention. So I said, theoretically, I'm going to tell you how I thought about it. I thought we function throughout our day. But when there's time for a moral choice, we have to kick it into consciousness. Now, we may choose not to, right? I talked about helping behaviors. In this class, I think it was. In this class. I get them. I can't keep the classes because we overlap so much. We talked about helping behaviors, and one of the big reasons why people help, the first reason why they help is because they notice a situation, and then they deem that situation an emergency. The two requirements right there are consciousness, or the requirement there for those two things to occur is consciousness. I have to become consciously aware that there's a need there, right? Okay. So for a moral choice, we all know this. This is so intuitive. A child could tell you that somebody who didn't know what they were doing is probably not guilty for doing that, right? Would they be guilty? Probably not guilty for doing that. So to be held accountable morally, as I'm speaking, right, as I'm talking about, to be held accountable morally, I would have to flip into consciousness. All right. So what is the mechanism by which these health changes occur? What's the mechanism by which I become a healthier person? And when I'm talking health, scientifically, I'm talking about physical measurements because those are the easiest things to measure. But you and me, what are we talking about when we're talking about health? We're talking about mind, body, spirit. We're talking about the entire person. And we know you can't be healthy without a healthy spirit. What is the mechanism by which these health changes occur? Consciousness. What does it take to be conscious? Right there. We need to be aware. We need to have flexible thinking. Flexible thinking means, of course, you know what flexible thinking means. Let me tell you just maybe a little bit more about flexible thinking, in particular from a scientific perspective. How do I know if you really have flexible thinking? Flexible thinking is your ability to take information that you already know, inflexible. That's kind of inflexible. And what is going on in the situation, and you're melding those two things. Oh, in this situation, it's this, it's not that. In this situation, it's this, it's not that. It's what we expect from our justice system, right? It's what we expect from our justice system. Discernment in our justice system. When somebody stands before the judge, they expect the judge to look at you and say, you're this, you're not that. You're that, you're not this. And therefore, my judgment is according to your this and not that. That's discernment. And anything less from a judge is injustice. That's what we pay you the big bucks for. Anything less than that is an injustice. What do you think the people in front of you expect from you? They expect a healthy exchange. A healthy exchange for my body, for my mind, and for my spirit. Why? Because that's justice. Otherwise, people end up doing things consciously or unconsciously. That's all we're saying. Because I know you. So we need to be aware. We need to have flexible thinking. And as I've said, flexible thinking is an ability to incorporate what is happening right now in the situation. It's this, but not that. And combining it with past memory. Well, when I know it's this and not that, it means I should act in this way, right? The result should be, if it's this and not that, the result should be. If the soil is dry and the plant is not broken, then it needs more water. It's not that the plant is broken, right? It's this, it's not that. The car doesn't run. It has gas in it, but the radio doesn't work. It's this and not that. If I came there with only gas information, I would never understand battery information. Right? Okay. Sometimes the analogies kind of crack me up. I have got to shorten this, which I hope doesn't create a reason for people to believe. And controlled thinking. So what does it take? If I'm flexible, and in my flexible thinking, I have to pull from now, what's happening now, and from my memory. That takes controlled effort, doesn't it? It takes controlled awareness. What is really happening now? What is really on that person's face? What is that? What does that facial expression really mean? Right? Now, it's controlled, which means it's effortful. It takes effort for me to do that. But it doesn't take as long as what I'm doing is I'm taking to explain it. It doesn't take that long. It seems like it does. And at first, just like in my early bird classroom, it takes a while to recognize capitals and small letters. It takes a while for you to put together and become aware and notice, be in the here and now, and then draw from memory as appropriate. That takes practice, and you get better at it with time, with practice. I'm going to show you what I call, I'm going to tell you right now, spoiler alert, refining in fire. That's what we mean by refining in fire. All right, watch. All right, so I jumped ahead, but the second half of this is what is subconscious. Sometimes we say it is unconscious. It is the thing that we are unaware of. We're unaware of our thinking. It's inflexible and it's automatic. All right, that's our subconscious. Now, let's see what that means, right? I'm going to use one example. I stopped and slowed down for the conscious because that's really important, because that is where we are held accountable. We're held accountable when we are conscious. If I have no reason to be unconscious, subconscious, then I better be conscious. Then I better make a purposeful effort, a controlled effort to be conscious. That's my responsibility. It is, as a moral, spiritual human being, right? And as a healthy one as well. And as a healthy one. You say, I don't care about spirituality. I don't care about being moral. You're not going to be healthy if you don't care about those things. Why do you think that is true? Why do you think that's true? That's the way our Creator made us. Hello, of course. You're not going to be healthy. You're going to be guilt-ridden, filled with shame if you are not consciously aware of what your moral obligation is. It's going to end up making you sick. And then you're going to have to go into this medical system and, okay. All right, so back to my light. Back to subconscious. So I slowed down for conscious because it's so important. I'm going to speed up for subconscious. It's important that you understand it, but it's easy to understand. So I always use the example. It's a boring example. I should think of a better example, but it's perfect. And that is driving a car. There is no greater ability, I don't think, that we actually manifest driving a car with so little conscious effort. Somebody write that down. That's another great quote, please. I don't think that we manifest a greater skill than driving, that we do 80% of our driving unconsciously, right? We've got all kinds of other things going on in our mind. Even if it's just, singing a song on a radio, right? We're thinking about that song. We're thinking about the words. We're dancing. We've got whatever it is, right? All of that. And I'm not thinking, oh, great beat, I think I'll dance to it. No, this happens all automatically. While you're what? On the road, paying attention to traffic, or not paying attention to traffic, in the middle of traffic with somebody who's beeping their horn over here, and traffic lights that I have to obey, and stop signs that are very different than traffic lights, and stop signs means probably pedestrians as well. Who even knows? All those things I have to pay attention to. I don't think that we have a greater skill. I don't think we manifest a greater skill than driving that we do so almost entirely unconsciously, right? Until what happens? And then what happens? Consciousness. Just like that. Just like a switch, right? You are in the here and now. And what are you doing? Looking at the situation? Taking information from past memory? Have you ever been in an accident before? Call the cops, get 911, get yourself out of the road, watch for other people. What are you doing, right? And the more experience you have with it, the more you can do this flexible thinking. You can be controlled in your thinking, and you could be aware of what is going on to the extent that you are capable of what? Solving the problem. No wonder it leads to greater health benefits, because I'm solving problems, right? Okay, all right. So, subconscious, unaware, inflexible thinking, and automatic, which is necessary. Now, I want you to listen to this, right? It's necessary to be a good driver, right? That is necessary to be a good driver. I'm not a good driver if I am forced to think about every single thing I'm doing on the road. We know you're not a good driver. And in fact, we know that our automatic thinking serves us really, really well. And in many situations, even very complex situations, our automatic thinking serves us better than conscious thinking. What? This, I think it's the next slide, is what we call, it's not the next slide. I don't know where it is, doesn't even matter. Back to refining and fire. That is refining and fire. This is a mechanism by which we create a healthy system. I know when I need to snap into consciousness, and it's not every waking moment, but it needs to be enough that I benefit. Conscious controlled thinking, we get loads of benefit from, right? Conscious controlled thinking occurs when we're learning something. Conscious controlled thinking occurs when I'm taking a test. Conscious controlled thinking occurs when I'm planting my flowers. Conscious controlled thinking occurs when I am setting my goals and seeing if I'm meeting my goals. Conscious controlled thinking happens when I am deciding about building my garden beds out there, and already I've got my seeds planted, all my vegetables are this tall, right? Conscious controlled thinking has the greatest benefits, unbelievable benefits, but we cannot function if we are constantly in conscious controlled thinking. Most of our daily functioning occurs in a subconscious level. But what a beautiful thing. I'm cooking dinner, and thinking about 10 other things while I'm cooking dinner, and I'm answering kids' questions, right? And I'm paying attention to the documentary that's on TV, or thinking about what I'm planning for this class. But I sure am not thinking about my cooking. That's on automatic pilot. Now, think about if you had conscious controlled thinking, the ability to discern, to take information and plow over it the right way and spit out a solution that works. Let's say you got really good at that. What do you think would happen? Let's say you got really good at that. What do you think would happen? I think your conscious controlled thinking and that mechanism refining your thinking. For what reason? To be a moral thinker, it really is, because that's all the benefit in this. It's the benefit health-wise, spiritually. The benefit is becoming a moral thinker. That's where a moral person, that's where the benefit is. Remember, again, I'm not shamed. I'm not guilt-ridden. I'm a moral person. I think morally. I behave morally. What if that were automatic? Right? What if that were automatic for you? What if being a good person, I've heard people say, I can't do it. If only I could be good. I can't be a good person. It's a mechanism. And if you understand the mechanism, and anybody who wants to be a good person and is driven enough to understand the mechanism by which we become good people, and then you believe it, you dive into it. That's the mechanism, I'll do it. Anybody who cares enough to study the mechanism by which you can become a good person is a good person. That's a good person. A person who doesn't want to hear what I'm saying right now, a person who doesn't want to believe what I'm saying right now, would rather believe something different. That's not a good person. It's just simply not a good person. Find your triune. Okay. So that is the moral pathway. The moral pathway is this, and I'm saying it's a moral pathway. It's and scripturally speaking, we're refining in fire is what we're doing. To use scripture, we are refining in fire is what we're doing. Okay? So there is this exchange then between I'm consciously aware, I'm making a moral choice. Why? Because I'll be healthier, physically, mentally healthier when I make a moral choice, emotionally healthier when I make a moral choice. That's why I do it. That's why I make those moral choices. I know. And I can use a system, and I can become a moral machine. Can you become a moral machine? So interesting. So interesting. You know what my answer is? Do you want to know my answer? My answer is yes. My answer is yes. God will reward you. Your creator will reward you. Your creator will reward you with exactly the fruits that I talked about before. You will be rewarded. Make a conscious effort to be a moral machine. That's what we're talking about. That's exactly what we're talking about. Many of the people not here with me, many people out there have made a conscious effort to be an immoral machine, right? To make as much money as they can, to fill up their pride as much as they can, to take, and then take, right? Many people are driven to be an immoral machine. Why not see what the results are if you're driven to be a moral machine? And the promise is that you will be refined. Why in fire? Because I don't think I have that up there, so I'll say it right now. Why in fire? Why in fire? Because that's effort, isn't it? That's effort to be aware, and not only be aware, but then to make a moral choice. Because a lot of times, as we were talking in the Kitty Genevieve's case, for example, I might put myself at risk making that moral choice, right? I might put myself at risk. If somebody who's in danger because of criminals around, and then you make a moral choice to help that person, well, you clearly put yourself in danger then, right? So it's difficult, right? It's difficult to make that moral choice. So why refining and fire? Because it can hurt. It can hurt sometimes, right? Like being in the midst of fire. And then, of course, scripturally speaking, if you have Daniel, who was thrown into the furnace and also in the lion's den, right? You can really see some literal examples of being refined in fire. Why? Because of his faith, right? Because of his faith. That's why. Okay. I love talking. I love this. This is the classroom I love. This is it. Okay. What is the mechanism by which spiritual awareness leads to better health? So that's what I'm calling this. I'm calling it can be your moral pathway. It could be, becoming aware of your moral responsibility. It could be becoming aware of your responsibility that you have to your creator, right? Right? To your creator. Used to be very difficult for me, and I'm sure many, many men, to think about being, responsive to a creator, right? It is one of the most difficult things we will likely do, because first of all, we have to believe in a creator enough to be submissive to that creator in such a way that we are tampering with what we consider to be our free will, right? As a creator, you gave me free will to be able to make my choices. Then stop telling me what to do, right? Then stop telling me I'm supposed to do this when I want to do that. So what we are risking when we pay attention to a creator and respond to his moral, guidelines, is we are risking our free choice. Now you say, no, we're not in that. Well, no, we're not. No, we're not. But most people deep down inside feel that they are, and that's why they do not respond to a creator with, for example, praise, glory, and service, right? And service to others. Service to others, because that is where he is at. We'll say, I go to church, I light a candle, I pray really, really hard. So that's the service to others. But glorifying him is really doing his will. That is refining yourself in fire, right? And doing his will is servicing others, because right now we can see how much we need to service others. This planet is a mess and we have to fix it. And the only way we can fix it is by helping one another fix it, right? God's not coming down. I don't see, I clearly don't see God coming down. He's leaving it to us, our godly selves, what our God inside, to connect and get this problem resolved, right? And try and see. But the only way to do that is by becoming consciously aware and then, teaming up. So our number one need, how do we do this then, right? So very practically, I've said it before. I started out this way. Our number one need is love. To give love and receive love. Our number one need is love, but it is to give love and receive love. Okay? So, any response that we have to this question of how do we refine ourselves in fire? How do we get to this automatic place where I am automatically making a moral decision whenever they come up? I'm automatically making a moral decision. Why? Because it's healthier. Why? Because that's what my Creator said. My Creator made me desire and be motivated to be good because that is healthier. Healthier for my mind. We know it. No shame, guilt, or less shame, less guilt. Let's get rid of it. Healthier for my emotions if I'm getting rid of that guilt. And then all of those things are healthier for my body. All right. So we got to figure out how to get out of these relationships of hate. And also people, again, I'm going to say it again because I'm sick of it. That alt-right movement that is so filled with hate and when I watch that video, they're saying it's popular. In order for me to be popular, I have to be alt-right. It's popular? How could it be popular? I know how. Because nobody cares because those people don't care about that moral pathway, right? And those people are sick. They're sick. They're sick. Listen to them talk. They're sick. They are sick individuals. They're sick in the mind. Hateful talk and talk against the Jews. Hateful talk against God's people. I don't even know a more damning behavior than hateful. Hello? I don't understand. I don't understand your Christian connection when you talk like that. So, no health in your mind. Those are destructive emotions. They literally are. We have books on destructive emotions. They literally are destructive emotions. They just don't destroy the things that they want destroyed, right? They destroy themselves. And in the process, you alt-right say, I don't feel guilt and shame. Of course you don't. That's not going to prevent it from affecting your body and your mind. You've just refined yourself into automatic thinking in immoral ways. That's all. So you don't think it affects your whatever. It does. It has to. That's the way your Creator made you. Hello. Number 2. What ends up happening then is we've got two systems. And you alt-right people will appreciate this because you talk about, the adrenal factor, adrenal, you got your big name for it. We have a rise in adrenal and hormones, in our adrenal hormones. We have a rise in that because of the stress that we have. The unprecedented stress that we have. Of course, you're going to find higher adrenal levels. They're only selling it to you that there's another reason. They're stressing you and they're telling you, oh yeah, they're drinking the blood of babies. Are you kidding me? What? The whole Republican Party knows this or they don't. You know it. All the people you know that are alt-right people know it, but somehow your Republican congressperson can't bring that to trial. Seriously? Really? You can see the mental cavity that these people have. It's just a mental chasm. Shh. See what I'm saying right there? Reality, your brain. Okay. There's so many of those people around here that it's so fresh, right? I live in an alt-right town, an alt-right community, an alt-right county. Okay, so we've got our I just want to see what I have here. I don't it doesn't matter because this is a college course, so I didn't necessarily want to have that information, but I didn't know if I had the picture. We have two systems here. The next picture demonstrates it a little bit better, but not important right now. And these are our main, when we say that that anything is dysfunctional, whether our thinking is dysfunctional or our emotions are dysfunctional or our bodies are dysfunctional, it doesn't matter. When we have dysfunction, it's this system here, this exchange of, in scientific terms, psychological terms, actually, it's a system of approach and avoid. That's the easiest way to think about it, okay? And everything that we do in life is based on the system of approach and avoid. If I set a goal, I'm approaching something. If I don't like you, I might avoid you. I might write you a nasty letter. That's approach motivated, all right? So when we go on our internet, we say nasty things, aggression is approach motivated, all right? So it's constantly these two systems. And that's basically the brain has come down to these two systems, our bodies have come down to these two systems, and our emotions have come down to these two systems, all right? Which we'll call approach and avoid. That's the simplest way to put it. And you can see where dysfunction would come in any place in the cycle if my approach and avoid mechanism wasn't working well, right? So let's say that my behavior, my approach avoid mechanism wasn't working well with my behavior. I might approach a boss and ask for a raise when he's in a bad mood. That's a dysfunctional physical approach avoid mechanism, behavioral, right? Because that's we were physically doing something. What about a faulty emotional approach avoid mechanism? What about a faulty emotional approach avoid mechanism? That would be somebody who overreacts, right? A $5,000 reaction to a $5 problem, right? So that would be a dysregulation. I should have put it up here. I put it up to here, right? Or the opposite. And I saw this with some of the cybersecurity individuals and those people who are playing those games all the time. What don't they have? They don't have appropriate emotional responses. So it's not that they go overboard, they go underboard, right? They have apathy. He goes, yeah, I had to spend 18 months in jail. It was no big deal. I just, took it a day at a time. Where a normal person would be, would be petrified of the situation, right? Be, astounded by the fact that they're in it. Some kind of emotion, not just, so I took it a day at a time, 18 months in jail or 12, 16 months in jail, whatever it was. No, that's not right either. That is clearly a dysregulation in approach or avoid, right? And, sometimes, again, it isn't, there's an avoidance there. There could be an avoidance. There could be other things that are working there as well, right? So it's not just a negative emotion that makes me avoid something, right? It can be, but anger is a negative emotion, and I typically don't avoid with anger. Typically, I'm approaching. If I'm angry, right, I'm feeling something else if I don't show you my anger in some way. So it's an external, we externalize that emotion, anger, right? Why? Because it's an approach motivated emotion, all right? Okay, now the systems here, sympathetic nervous system. So we're talking about a spinal cord. We're talking about our nervous system, right? So we have a sympathetic nervous system. We have a parasympathetic nervous system, whatever. We'll call it SNS and PNS, all right? Sympathetic nervous system approach. It gets me out there, gets me goal motivated. And what does my body do? My body gets ready for things, right? We could say it's a fight or flight, gets ready, right? Gets ready for something to fight. But it doesn't have to, it could be ready for a goal, it could be ready for a run, it could be ready for something really great, it could be getting ready for a wedding, preparing for a wedding. Our SNS peaks at that time when we're getting ready for a wedding, which is a positive event, right? Why? Because we're doing all kinds of things. Our body's ready. Our muscles have got oxygen in there. Our muscles have blood flow, and our brain does, and we're ready. PNS, parasympathetic nervous system. This is a rest and digest. So it's not really an avoidance, right? It's not really avoidance. Why is this so important? It's so important because this is our calming system, not our avoiding system. If I'm avoiding something because I'm afraid, that's SNS. Again, that's our sympathetic. That's we're getting ready for something, all right? PNS, not PMS. PNS is our parasympathetic nervous system. That is when we are content. Think of yourself on a beach, right? In the sunshine, and just feel those hot rays, right? Just bronzing your body, just the way I like it, right? Think about that relaxing, and when you feel that the warmth of the sunshine, right? Think about your dog, right? Who lays in that sun and just, right? That is your PNS. And now I have to be able to react to things, to my boss, to, traffic. I have to be able to react to things, right? But wouldn't it be wonderful if we had our PNS activated a lot? That content feeling, content. I am satisfied. I need nothing. That's your PNS telling you, I'm satisfied. I need nothing, right? Wouldn't that be great if we could get that PNS activated, right? Let me tell you even a better scenario where our PNS is activated with our SNS at just the right place, right? Just the right place. So I'm not ready to take a nap. I'm actually invigorated but content. How about that? We call that flow. It's called flow. We'll talk more about it. That's the ultimate. That's what I'm literally in the here and now and flourishing at this moment in time, right? Flourishing at this very moment in time. How does that happen? It's called invigoration, right? I have no stress. I'm not worried about it. I've got this, right? But I'm excited about it. Let's go. Let's see what's going to happen, right? Isn't that where we want to be? That's spirit-driven PNS right there. It's not I'm satisfied with being content. I'm satisfied with being content with doing something, right? I'm content when I'm doing something, when I'm making progress, when I'm making relationships, when I'm talking to people, when I'm doing this, Do you see my SNS activated? And do you see my PNS, the satisfaction, the smile on my face when I'm doing this? Do you see that place? That's flow. That's flow right there. Being in the zone, And that is having both our PNS, how important it is, though, for our PNS to be activated. And the problem here that we've got is that we simply are not skilled, aware, conscious, making a conscious effort to activate our PNS. We are stressed to the max, anxiety, and instead of solving our problems behaviorally, we take medication. That clearly has not gotten us into a PNS activation at all. At all. It's destroying our bodies. It's destroying our kidneys. Specifically our kidneys. It's destroying our bodies, though. Okay. So we know about the two systems and how we would prefer to activate those two systems. And then I'm going to talk about the mirror neurons, and then I started at 2, right? Yeah, I started at 2. Okay. I think I did. I'm pretty sure I did. Yes, No. Did I start at 12:30? How long have I been on? Who am I talking to? I did. All right. I'm going to finish this thought up. And then we'll head out. Then we'll stop. I didn't realize. Yeah, we're done. Okay. Oh, 0 drop frames. Amazing. Snowstorm outside, 0 drop frames. Okay. Mirror neurons. Mirror neurons appear to be evidence for a neurological component of empathy, a neurological component to empathy, a neurological component of empathy. All right. I want to leave you with this thought today. And for our philosophical classroom, Wednesdays we're not supposed to be here. I will be here at 2 o'clock. I'm going to say something about where we're going with our philosophical classroom. We're no longer talking about Fromm, and we're no longer talking about the war on the poor. We're going to start something brand new, and it's going to be group dynamics, but I'll talk about that a little bit later on. Let me finish my thought here. So I'll be here at 2. This is so important to me, this mirror neuron. So I'm going to take a minute to lay the foundation for it, and then we're going to jump into it when we get back here again tomorrow. All right. So mirror neurons. I'll tell you about the study that was done, and it was by. I'm not thinking of it was Giacomo. I'll think of it as I'm talking to you. His last name was Giacomo. Okay, it was Giacomo. That's what it was. Giacomo. Okay. And he was studying what a specific put electrodes on your brain, what a specific neuron did. So every neuron has a job, right? So neurons are the cells in our brain. Every neuron has a job. And so as a scientist, they want to find out what is that neuron's job. All right. Now, but I can't do that in human beings. I can't go and take your skull off and put an electrode on your neuron and find out when it fires. And if I do it on a monkey or an animal, which they do, right? They just remove the skull. It doesn't hurt them, right? But it is science, right? So it's science, so who even knows? And then they put these electrodes on the neuron, and then when that neuron fires, there'll be a beep on the computer. So every time that neuron fired, there will be a beep on the computer. And then that will tell me what that neuron does. It fires every time that, in this case, that monkey put a nut in his mouth. Beep. So I knew, and I could be working away. Beep. Monkey put a nut in his mouth. Okay? That's what that neuron is for. So see the kind of valuable research. We can tell what your brain does and how your brain works. There's neurons. And even though I can't do that in a human being, I could see about where that neuron is located and about where that neuron ends up being located. Maybe about right there is where, if I put a nut in my mouth, that would happen too. Right around there. Not exactly the same neuron. I don't know, because I didn't put an electrode on a human's head or a human brain, right? I did it to a monkey. So I have to generalize is what I have to do, right? I have to generalize based on what happened with that monkey, right? So beep, beep. It's Rizzoletti. It's Giacomo Rizzoletti. That's what it is. His first name was Giacomo. Giacomo Rizzoletti is the name. All right, I knew I'd get it. Rizzoletti. So Rizzoletti comes into the room with the monkey in the cage, and a bowl of nuts there. And Rizzoletti picks up a nut and puts a nut in his mouth, and there's a beep. Now, Rizzoletti, maybe I have to tell you, does not have an electrode in his brain. He's the researcher. So no electrodes on Rizzoletti's brain. He puts a nut in his mouth, and there's a beep. What's that? Rizzoletti discovers mirror neurons. And mirror neurons activate when I perform a behavior and when I see somebody else perform the same behavior. That's a mirror neuron. I saw somebody else perform the behavior, and the exact same neuron activated. The exact same neuron fired. The exact same neuron that monkey had an electrode on, it fired again, but the monkey didn't put a peanut in his mouth. He saw the researcher do it, and that exact electrode fired. How about that? Think about the implications of that. Think about the implications of that, right? in my brain is firing in the same place it fired when I saw somebody else perform that action. We're going to come back. I'm going to let you sit on that one. We're going to come back tomorrow, and we're going to talk more about mirror neurons. Thanks for joining me. This is Dr. Annette Feravich. I am the teacher in the classroom. Thanks.